This is TWiT.
Thank you for being here. I know you are being asked by everyone across the world about your impressions and thoughts about the Switch 2, so I'm honored that you chose to take some time to join us today. To kick things off, you, in writing this piece, talk a lot about Mario Kart World, as this was kind of the hands-on you got to do. Spent hours with it, hands-on time with the Switch 2 itself. For listeners who have yet to catch up, can you talk about the key takeaways about what is new in this generation? What makes it the Switch 2 as opposed to the Switch?
Yeah, so they did a lot of under the hood stuff, which is different. And, starting with the chip, it's a new NVIDIA chip inside. And there's a lot of claims about AI upscaling and improving graphics. It can run 4K and higher refresh rates on a TV. It's got the system itself has a 7.9-inch 1080p screen. It's LCD, but it looks good. That can run higher refresh rates. The Joy-Cons are redesigned, so they have more rumble, and they also magnetically snap on. But a lot of the stuff that's going on with this, also it works with cameras in an interesting way, which I'll get to in a sec. It can split your faces up and put it into the game in a way that's pretty clever. And it adds this GameChat feature, which is a live onboard, 4 to 12 player audio/video chat thing. And those are the new things. But a lot of those potentials are still kind of unknown. Right now, we're right at the beginning. Nintendo has a couple of exclusive games, a lot of ports and updates to some games, and it feels a little more like a pro-ier Switch than it does a completely new thing, like kind of by design.
Understood. Now, you did mention, and I think this was one of the most interesting things leading up to it. We saw like a new button right on the controller, and then we heard about GameChat. You describe it as Nintendo's audio-video hangout zone. How does it actually work in practice? And I think more importantly, how big a shift is this from Nintendo's previous approach to online multiplayer and online multiplayer conversation?
Yeah, Nintendo's always been pretty locked down on online stuff, and it can be frustrating for people who are used to a deeply online gaming life. They've gotten a lot better in the Switch years. A lot of that chat stuff was always offloaded to the Nintendo phone app, and I think people kind of found their own. You might have just done Twitch or something else if you wanted to chat. But now this is something that's built in, and you have to connect through friend codes and invitations. So you have to still very deliberate thing where you're inviting people in and then inviting them into the chat. And it's pretty instant once you do that. It starts as audio. You can also add video if you have a camera. And it was pretty seamless in the demos we tried with Nintendo. I'm still getting on my feet with it now because we did not have early review units. We just picked them up on Wednesday. And you have to have other people to do game chat.
Right.
Switch too.
Friends.
Yeah. So we're just kind of getting our feet with that. But I think it's a good move. And what's interesting is that it is definitely designed to not have to be playing games together. It starts as just, hey, we're all chatting. Then you can connect with the games you're playing and play. But it starts as kind of like a party group. And I think that's pretty common. I mean, I know with my kids, that's kind of how they're playing all the time. They start with a bunch of chats and they're talking with friends and then they play. And I think it probably is pretty generational because it's not what I'm doing. But, I don't know how flexible it's going to be and how frustrating that might be for people. And also what was interesting is when I set up GameChat, it asked for my phone number to authenticate. So I'm not quite sure what that means because I didn't know that would be part of it. And then does that mean that every person who's doing game chat needs a phone number? In which case, what does that mean for kids?
Yeah.
Does it mean there are kid accounts and it might mean that the parent can then authorize it, but I don't know is the answer, but I just thought that was a little bit of a surprise.
Yeah, that really surprises me as well. I suppose from the aspect of maybe making it easier to track and ban accounts that are offenders, that could be a good feature. But yeah, if you've got because I'm immediately thinking about when I've needed to sign up and create accounts on any website and need to make more than one for whatever reason, work stuff or whatever. And the second account, I go to type in the phone number and it goes, well, you've already done done that with a different one. So what if you have two kids?
Right.
Is that going to all work with the same phone number? People going to have to get these? Yeah, that leaves a lot of questions to be answered. And before I ask you the next question, I want to follow up there. You said, I don't know. Could you give a little bit more context about the situation when it comes to the review of the Switch 2 across the entire industry of journalists who are writing about this thing?
It's been very on the fly. I think, we didn't get early review units. Apparently there were some software updates that were needed. We had early demos. We had a demo all the way back in April when they were doing the tour. And then we got another opportunity a week ago to spend more time with some of the key features and kind of get explained some of the stuff that we did already know, but in a little more detail. But what we didn't know was how it would feel once you're setting it up and using it. So we're in a hot situation now where we're using it on the fly, just like a lot of people who bought them. I think it further reinforces to me that it's kind of a soft launch, of the Switch 2. It's a big launch in that I think they're going to sell a ton of them. But this is something that Nintendo is going to be getting on its feet over the course of the next year, because the Switch is already so popular that the Switch 2 doesn't need to be an instant hit. And a lot of people are probably going to wait a bit. And so as features roll out, as maybe kinks get worked out, as more games arrive, I kind of expect it to be a rolling start. And that's how I'm treating it, because right now, I don't know, for instance, I don't know how fast it is to charge. I was just sharing this on Blue Sky, but it seems like it's charging slowly. And someone at The Verge chatted back and it said, yeah, they saw the same thing. So all those questions, things that are important, we're learning. So it's going to take a good week. Usually I take a good week or more to review something, ideally. And I'm on day 1.5. at the moment.
While also coming on shows like this to talk about it, which is pulling you away from the game time. One of the things you talked about, camera connected features, something kind of interesting, floating live video faces in Mario Kart World. I mean, that's fun, but it does seem technically ambitious. What did it actually feel like using that feature in real gameplay?
So it's kind of impressed upon me that the camera, which I was feeling pretty dismissive of with the first Nintendo Switch event, because they were showing it mainly with Mario Party Jamboree, with some fun but gimmicky things that felt like, memories of PlayStation Eye, Microsoft Kinect, all these things from the past that you might remember. And I thought, okay, they're kind of doing that. But I think they're going to be doing a lot more with it. First of all, it works with the GameChat, and it can actually do some interesting kind of green screeny stuff of your face and zooming in. But the camera enabled modes can separate out 4 different people at once from the same camera, which I'm not studying camera tech all the time, but that felt like a magic trick even to me, having seen a lot of this tech. That felt pretty new. And I think it's a trick that the processor is able to pull off too. So, you'll pre-identify which faces to keep in frame. I'm not sure how good the tracking actually is, but at least it keeps it in frame. You may have to move your head in that zone. But the point is, it will then, cut out and live feed your faces into the game. So, as you're driving the Mario Kart, you can look up ahead and I can see my colleague Ahmad, all the way up in first place, like I did yesterday. And it's live, it's like slow refresh rate a little bit, but you can taunt someone, make a face.
That's super cool.
It is cool. Yeah. It also lets you know where they are too, because there's a lot of times when you're playing these games like Smash Brothers or Mario Kart, where you're kind of like, where are they again? And
who is who? Yeah, exactly.
And now you're like, I'm going to get him, or no, I'm not, I'm going to lose. But I think it added a lot to the fun, and I think it really turned us into a maybe I need to get the camera. So at $55 for their camera, you can also plug in your own USB-C cameras apparently, but as someone was asking me, they wanted my thoughts on that, and I haven't gotten there yet, so I don't have a lot of cameras lying around. That is an interesting question. How well you could just plug in your own, but I think it's a really interesting feature.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I love about Nintendo is the novel ideas that the company seems to come up with that are quirky, but then you go, you know what? The delight makes the quirkiness just work. You did, speaking a little bit more about Mario Kart World, you did talk about playing with 24 people. That's pretty wild. What makes that scale of multiplayer so different and engaging versus playing against Princess Peach Robot?
It feels like Mad Max. I felt like when we were playing with the 24 gaming journalists and tech journalists in that demo, and you're playing in the tracks feel pretty wide open too to accommodate those numbers because that gets you get pretty bottlenecked. It just reminded me of like Fury Road with like all the cars going at once, and you're like things are firing, and you're like, how do I get out of this? I think it changes the strategy at that scale. But also there's a new mode that I think really makes great use of it, that Knockout Tour, which a lot of people are saying is kind of like, could have been the name. Someone said this online, they're like, that could have been the name for Mario Kart World. I think that's true, where kind of like a 99 player, kind of survival mode. This is like every race, every one of the courses, they'll cut you off. You have to make it to 18th place or you're out. You have to make it to whatever, 12th place or you're out. Yeah, and it adds an extra pressure, but not like, oh, I have to get in first place right now, but I better not fall too far behind. And I think it works really well for that large chaotic group. I think that's a really good fit because you lose track of, and also getting into first place feels almost impossible with 24 people. But you could try to be into like a top group and then see how luck plays out once you get down to like 8. Maybe you catch fire. So I think it's great use of it, and I don't want to go back. It hooked me on the large player size if I can find other people online to play with.
Especially this early on, right?
Right.
So let's round things out here. After 2 extended demo sessions, you still weren't fully convinced. You mentioned that the Switch 2 is a must-buy right here at launch, that people need to run and go grab it as quickly as possible. What do you think would need to change, or what software would need to arrive to tip the balance into the go grab it now situation? Or is it just a matter of let's just wait and see?
I think it's like also, it depends on the audience too. I know a lot of people, I know a lot of dads that are running out and getting it anecdotally. And I think like if you have the money, if you have a large Switch library, if you like the idea of, again, the pro appeal, where it's kind of like the PS5 Pro, where you're like, oh, I have a huge library. And I think upgrading all these games in my library matters to me. But for somebody else who's thinking about spending money on this, it's a significant amount of money. There are more expensive things in the world, but $450 is not cheap. And I think it needs to develop a bigger, unique library of games to justify that. They're leaning on the Switch library, but right now you just have Mario Kart World and this Welcome Tour little thing, which is cute, but should have been free, But then again, it's only $10 it's like a tour of the Switch 2 and its features and multiplayer. I think if you're really starved for extra things to show off the mouse functions, like it's probably worth throwing $10 at it, but it feels like Nintendo is trying to just like get a few extra bucks out of you. And I think that some of the ports, the new ports like Cyberpunk 2077, which I'm still going to be getting into playing, they show a lot of potential for where it could be like a Steam Deck and play, more things like PC and PS5 and Xbox. But we have to kind of see how that plays out, see how really capable it is. And I want more Nintendo whimsy, actually. So speaking of what I think, I was a little let down by the whimsy approach. I think, I was expecting I wrote a piece saying I was expecting even more wild cards. I know they come out of left field with things. Those may still come. Sometimes Nintendo gets burned on those, like Labo, the cardboard folding thing they did a number of years ago, which I still think was genius, but was probably too ambitious. And then they have some other interesting accessories and things. And while the mouse feature is fun, it's a mouse. Like you can use the Joy-Con as mice. It's okay. And the camera thing is fun. But again, it doesn't work when you're in handheld mode. So that's like you have to be docked in front of a TV. I'm mostly a handheld player. So I really like Switch in that mode. So I think I'm looking forward to a little more also indie game from Nintendo whimsy. Nintendo often would take shots in different directions with games you go, what the heck is this? And right now they're leaning on some pretty safe franchise moves. Donkey Kong, Mario Kart, more of the things you like. I think they need to take some swings in like, what is this? What is this, crazy frog thing that I don't know? Like, you had to surprise us like Pikmin when Pikmin first came out, or Animal Crossing.
Right.
I think that'll come, but it does seem like right now in 2025, Nintendo is looking for smooth continuity with what they've already got.
Understood. Well, we will continue to watch what makes its way out there as everybody at the same time is getting their hands on this. And as you mentioned, kind of figuring out what issues people are running into. If people want to keep up with what you're doing, where should they go to do that?
So you can follow me on Blue Sky. I'm on there a ton. You can also check out all my stuff on CNET, which I am always on, and on CNET's YouTube channel. And those are pretty good places to start.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Scott, for joining us today. And I'm sure we'll see you again soon.
Thanks a lot. Yeah, I'll be playing.
Thanks so much for watching this little chunk of Tech News Weekly. If you'd like to get the full episode, well, head over to twit.tv/TNW. There you'll find buttons you can click or tap to subscribe to the entire show in audio and video formats. Or just look in the description. We've got links down there as well.